Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome. We are excited to be here with you today, and it is another Monday, 1:30. But hey, I'm Doug Cothy. My name, yep, Terry's in. My name is Doug Cothy. I'm the founder and principal consultant for the People Smart Group, and what we do is help organizations build a healthy company, healthy culture, help make leaders' lives easier and more enjoyable while becoming even more effective. And so that's our what we do. We just help you transform things and make them better. And then we're also the founder of the Organizational Health Collective, which you see above us here. That is an organization for organizational health practitioners, people who are in consulting, coaching, and internal learning and development folks. And we are constantly trying to grow ourselves and make sure we're the best experts we can be for those we serve, as well as networking and growing our contacts so that we have a good network and other people to rely on and lean on. So now I'm here with my good friend Terry.
Hey, I was pushing buttons and I ended up muting everything, and that's a new feature that wasn't there last week. But well, I'm glad to be here. I'm Dr. Terry Wager, Generator Consulting, like it says underneath, and we dramatically improve team and leadership performance. That's what we do at Generator. And I'm also a member of the Organizational Health Collective, and it is a group of people that I like to be around, sharing ideas and helping each other grow stronger as consultants. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
What are we
Today's topic is how do we get our people aligned and moving in the same direction and rowing their boats the same way? And what we would call the rallying cry is our answer. And otherwise known as a thematic goal. A lot of that based on Patrick Lencioni's work in The Advantage. Also, Politics, Silos, and Turf Wars, I think, is the other one, right? He covers it in both of those. But that's something we are regularly using with clients to help them to get their people all on the same page, all going in the same direction. And so why is that important, Terry? Help us out with that.
Well, it's important because I'll give you an example of somebody who doesn't do this. I won't say who they are, but I've worked with a client who tends to believe that every problem that hits them between the eyes is the most important thing right now. And if I got a phone call now that something else is wrong, that's the most important thing. And then a phone call right after that, that's the most important thing. And instead of a sign like this, it turns into a hammer, and I'm sitting there whacking moles constantly, and I'm running around. And the picture I want everybody to have in their mind is light your hair on fire, run around with a fire extinguisher, trying to put everything out with a hammer, trying to knock everything down all at once. And the fire isn't out there, it's right here.
Yeah.
And so what happens is everything is important, nothing gets done. Yep. Nothing's important, nothing gets done. Right. And so we got to really circle the wagons and identify what is most important right now.
That's great.
Yep. The problem is everybody has a different opinion based on their emotional experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's that hard piece, right? Is how do we get everyone to agree what's most important? How do we get them all focused on it? And how do we determine it even is a big question. And a big piece of that is I love Patrick uses the example that, one of the places you'd go that you never have a problem with people being on the same page. Just go walk in the emergency room one day and say, I got pain down my arm. I'm feeling numb. And I got some pain in my chest. Guess what's going to happen? You'll be in a room. You're going to be surrounded by people who are not even needing to check with each other what they need to do, but they're all on the same page and they're all working well around you. And so the picture of a hospital emergency room when someone comes in with chest pain or stroke symptoms.
Or a bullet wound.
Yeah, or a bullet wound. I mean, they're going to snap to, and they're all going to do their job, and they know what their job is. It's to save the patient.
And what's interesting
is important. And so they all have a piece of what it means to save the patient. And so the same needs to be true in our company of what's most important actually pulls us all together. So we all know, hey, we're all going for that. And what's my piece to make that happen?
What's really interesting is that's what happens inside the operating room or in the emergency room is they all know and they all snap to it. Yep. But when there's no emergency, there's just as much vying for importance and
Yep.
politics, and this trumps that, and you get the drama of the workplace.
Yep.
And it's interesting because you can see all of that drama, and it's like walking around with a bunch of games going on, right? And I'm
Mm,
playing a bunch
yep.
of games, and then trauma walks in the door. Poof, most important right now.
Yep. That's good.
And what and I'm trying to paint a picture there that is like, I could be playing Boggle and Uno
Hmm.
and whatever, and I'm playing all these games. Those are all of the things that we think are most important right now
Yep.
while we're not in an emergency.
Right. Right.
But when the emergency walks in, those people drop all of the games and move to what is most important right now,
Mm,
life-saving strategies for those
yep.
people. And they all know their position. They all know what they're supposed to do. And they all know what first thing, second thing, third thing.
Yep.
They go to work.
Yeah.
But outside of the emergency, people forget what's most important right now. And it's very
Mhm.
difficult to get people to key in to that level of life-saving strategy and process when there is no real emergency.
Yeah. Well said. It's interesting as you even said that. I was thinking of my own experience just recently taking my daughter to the emergency room because she was having pains in her abdomen. And we walk in and boom, we're in the back in like no time. And there, nurses there, there's another tech there. They're all checking different things, trying to figure out what's going on in there. We got appendicitis. Is it a gallbladder? Is it a something else? And, as they did that, I mean, they're all on and it's all, but once they figured out, hey, this is what it is. And we spent more of the day there waiting for things to happen. It was just a lot more, we popped in here, we popped in there. And things were so much less organized and directed. And in fact, there were times someone would come in and we're like, what are we doing here? So,
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting to see how danger or traumatic kind of situation creates this intensity and focus around what we do.
yep.
And then really, how do we actually capture that and keep the, I don't like the word motivation, but the intensity of a highly motivated individual? How do we keep that intensity
Yeah.
throughout the day? And I mean, I'll be honest, there's times that I am not focused on what's most important right now. I'm focused on,
Yep.
doing something else
Yeah.
because it isn't an emergency. But
Right.
what is it that, and I think that all of us have a tendency to go, what's kind of important right now?
Mm, yep.
What could I do?
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, even more of us go, what's most important to avoid right now?
Right. Yeah.
And we live our life in this, what's most important to avoid right now, and we put things off, and we put things, hey, I'll schedule it out 5 days so I don't have to do it.
Right.
And that's really good for procrastination, and really good for hesitation, and really good for uh, low performance.
Yep.
And
Very
so,
much.
how do we actually move from that low performance? What do we avoid right now to what do we actually focus on right now?
Yeah. That's good. Well, and we sit here and we talk about the traumatic event in the hospital, right? And it's like we're not hoping your company has trauma that you have to respond to. Like that's not the idea behind this. The idea behind this is, as Terry's alluding to too, is like when we figure out what's most important right now. Like what do we need to accomplish in the next? And we usually give a range, could be 3 months, but usually 6 to 9 months. What is it that if we did not accomplish that one thing, our company would fail, our company would not survive, we would not have great results. It would be a really, really bad 3 quarters, 2 quarters. What is it? And when we figure that out and we all agree, there's an adrenaline rush that says, let's get that done because we don't want to fail. We don't want to, you know, either fail entirely as a company or just fail at what we're trying to achieve as a company. We want success. And so it becomes a driver, it becomes an adrenaline driver. And I think that's that key piece. Now, the sustaining nature of it, it has to be short term, right? I mean, I think you make that point right there. It can't be, hey, over the next 5 years, we're going to accomplish this most important task for us. Yeah, great. We can't sustain the energy on that. That's just not going to happen. And so it's interesting, as I've used different analogies to help people understand it. One of the ones I've used, living down here on the Gulf Coast, a bunch of years back, the BP oil spill happened in the Gulf, right? And you ask the question, like, what do we got to do? Like, what's most important? Now, some might say cap the thing, which was important, was vitally important. That's a part of it. But honestly, the bigger picture is probably save the company. This is a PR nightmare. This is the amount of money that could go flowing into cleaning this up and into lawsuits could be off the charts. And so probably it's bigger than just cap the oil spill. That's
right. Or contain the spill.
Right.
Like a big,
yep.
Contain.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, you contained it, but what else?
Yeah, I mean, because after that, you got to do cleanup, right? And on top of that, you got to repair your image and repair your relationships with the people on the Gulf Coast so that they actually trust you. And they're not sitting there going, how is this not going to happen again? You got to repair your relationship with regulators and with the government. And I mean, so you've got all these different pieces that have to happen. And the bigger umbrella is, how do we save the company? How do we make it? What are the steps we've got to do to save our company and what it's doing here?
Right. And I like what you're talking about that, because when we're working with companies, one of the things that happens is we kind of have a popcorn kind of situation where people start saying what they think is most important right now. And we get, can cap the well. Okay, great. Contain spill, do PR. Well, what are those in service of?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're saving the environment. We're helping the environment. We're doing, well, what's the overall? What do we want? And this is the big thing that I think about is, what do we want the end to look like? And if it's just clean up the spill, great. We're not thinking about what you were talking about, which is the company afterwards. Cap the well, we're not thinking about the oil going everywhere, and we're not thinking about the company afterwards. Yep. We're just stopping the problem. It's whacking the mole. Yep. And so what is the overall, like you said, what is complete, or what is the end result we're looking for, and what does that look like? Yep. And when we can get that picture, then we can go, okay, now all of those different ideas that popped up, how do they fit?
Yeah. Yep. And I love your point there is, very often people come with the stepping stones first, right? They got the pieces and the parts, because that's where our mind goes, right? We go to those smaller pieces, and being able to do a good job facilitating, which, often takes someone external to you, because you're micro focused on some stuff. You might even be micro focused in on too short of timeline and not realize the bigger picture. And yet having someone who's an outsider be able to go, that's good, but I think it's a piece of a bigger picture. What's the bigger picture, guys? Put these together for me. What at the end is the picture? And so being able to do a good job facilitating, having a consultant that can do that for you is vital, because it's going to they're going to be able to push you up from the pieces to the big. What is the rallying cry? What is the need there? The goal that we've got to have.
Absolutely. We're working with a company right now that when I first started talking to them, sales, but their leadership is also having trouble. And so for me, when I'm sitting back in the catbird seat, the third person view kind of thing, watching, the most important thing is to really have a leadership team that's communicating really well.
Yep.
And then from that, we're going to have sales work better, and we're going to have marketing work better. And then my job is not to tell them that, but it's to help them kind of throw out all the ideas of what's most important right now, and then go, okay, so what would be the number one thing that would make all of it happen evenly and consistently and continuously after we put it in place?
Yeah, that's good. And I think it's important. You got to start at the top, right? Because if we don't do that from the top, we don't have the organization's most important thing right now. But then we can cascade it down, right? So in the BP case, right, legal is not going to be worried about capping the well. You're going to have some engineers, some technicians on that. You're going to have them doing that, right?
He's
So
a lawyer
legal is
out
going to
there.
be doing their part of the big goal. And so what their contribution is to it becomes their rallying cry. And so you can do this rallying cry down through the different teams. But the beauty is it doesn't get people off, right? So if you do that, legal is now, their big goal is still the big goal.
Yep.
But
And
we now have the steps it takes to get us to what we need to do to achieve our part of the big goal. But at the end of the day, it's still focused on a we goal. It's still focused on the collective company result that needs to happen. And so you cascade this down through your different departments, through your different places, and everyone has their contributions. But at the end of the day, it's got to keep us all focused on the big we result.
I really like what you're saying there, Doug, because it just isn't a big enough goal if not everybody has a piece in it.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a big enough goal that everybody in the company can rally behind it. That's why we call it a rally cries.
Yep.
You know, and if it's just cap the well, those guys aren't doing it. And the drillers aren't involved in it, and going and drilling another one. And then you got, the people who are working on relationships aren't thinking about that if cap the well is it, or cleanup, right? Cleanup is it. Well, you're shooting too small, and not everybody feels a part of that. But when we're a safe company, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Everybody has a role that's identifiable when it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. And it's so vital. I mean, so yeah, like finance, they've got to manage the finances so we don't go under. Marketing, they're probably focused more on the PR campaign than they are on standard marketing at this point.
New business.
Right? but then, I mean, just realizing as well, it doesn't take away. So you got the BP example. They're still doing their everyday work, right? People are still needing to be able to go to the BP gas station and get gas at the pump. The different chemical stuff they make that is used for different processes and different things, they still got to be producing and making. And so what we're not saying is that those standard things that you do, we talk of those as of standard operating objectives, they come under this umbrella of, hey, here's the objectives to get the big rallying cry done. The standard operating objectives are still there. The normal finance stuff that we've got to do, we've got to file a report with the SEC. So let's make sure that's done. All of those things still have to happen to get everything done. And so it comes under this whole umbrella of all of these things are contributing factors toward taking the company and making sure it survives and moving it on.
Right. And so one of what you're saying, and I'm going to be a little bit more explicit, is when we have that overall rally cry, then we have some focal objectives, or that's what we call them. We call them focal objectives. Some other people call them something else. I can't remember what it was. But the objectives that lead to that focused objective, and it's that 90-day kind of sprint goal. But then underneath that, we have the standard operating objectives that are the day-to-day. And so the way we describe it to our clients when we're really helping them out understand this idea of what's most important right now is too many people think about working on their business, or they think about working in their business, but they don't do both at once. And we have to be able to, as an organization, be able to work on our business as well as in our business. And the way we describe it, and we worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that didn't have huge teams in 2020, 2021, while the world was recovering or being onslaughted by the virus, or whatever. But the idea of being able to do both, and how do you balance that out? Well, what's most important right now might be this movement to grow our company, but we still have to continue our day-to-day. And so the standard operating objectives are working in your business and continuing to make it work the way it did when you started your business.
Right.
The thematic goal and the operating objectives, those are we call them focal objectives. Those focal objectives are how we on our business to move to the next step in the growth of the company.
That's good.
There's a separation that really needs to be understood there.
Yeah. And I like that And even if you said that, the beauty is, so if my goal is to grow the company, like in your example there of the company you're working with, I can't grow the company if I don't keep the company going. Right? There's not a company there if we stop doing all the things we normally do. So that is that foundation. And again, the pyramid idea that we do is we've got the thematic goal up top, and it comes down to what you call focal objectives, or others of us might call defining objectives. And we've got those, and then below them, we've got those standard objectives, standard operating objectives, and they're the foundation. Right? If I don't have the foundation of the company underneath all of this, and we don't keep doing all those things, guess what? We could achieve everything in that rallying cry, but we lost the company.
Yep.
And so we still got to handle everyday finances. We still got to handle everyday marketing. We still got to handle everyday sales. We still got to handle legal everyday stuff. Now, at times, like, so say again, the example of BP, legal has a whole new role in not just their normal standard operating objectives, but now they got a new role in the defining objectives. And so the way that any of those that pop up to the next level, it's not that, oh, all of a sudden sales is at the next level, but there's some sales goals or targets that really we want to hit and happen to get to that next level of growing our company. That's what's in the focal objective, defining objective, right? But you still have the regular sales operations are still down in the standard operating objectives. And so there's a little division there, because there's the defining objectives, really the piece that says this is our stepping stone to get the rallying cry done. The standard operating objectives are the foundation we're working off of.
Right. I think about that with like the marketing too, regular everyday marketing of how we're going to market, how we're producing more customers. That's the standard operating objective. And for me, the marketing department, at least in the companies that we work with a lot, marketing and PR is kind of very, very right next to each other. And so the marketing, a focal objective of marketing would be PR, and really focusing on how to change how people are seeing us, or if they're, we made a mistake, we're not the devil. We're actually cleaning up our mistake and doing whatever we can to increase the health of the environment, and so using that as a marketing tactic in a focal objective to increase how good we look as that mistake happened, while maintaining in the standard objective all of the things we were already doing, and making sure that those marketing strategies that we were already using are still moving forward. And so I like the way you were talking about with the law, but I want to identify that happens with the marketing too. And I'm pretty sure that the sales would have that kind of thing. And when we can really get clear on the separation of standard objectives and focal objectives, and how one's growing the company while one is maintaining the growth we've already received, that's the deal.
Yep, that's good. I like that. That's a good division of helping people understand that from the marketing perspective. So thanks. We're making the videos of us cleaning up the birds. At the same time, we're making the video telling people what we do for them on an everyday basis. Those are all out there. Obviously, the budget for marketing's probably got to go up.
Right. And it's what we're doing to fix this problem is that focal objective. What we do on a daily basis when we don't have that problem is the standard objective. And it really, when we can start thinking that way, and really be clear about it within our own world, then we can actually communicate much better about it. I think the other piece that comes to mind is going back to what is most important right now. When we're not talking as a group or an organization regularly, everybody has a different idea of what's most important right now, and they're siloed objectives. And when we're not talking about the crisis of the oil BP or the emergency of the emergency room, we're looking at, okay, how do we do this next achievable deal? Well, if sales is feeling like they are the most important thing right now, and they create this idea of, we need to have some kind of new sales launch or sales campaign or something like that, but they didn't talk to marketing about it, it's going to be very difficult. Or if marketing has this new idea, but they don't teach or they don't talk to sales about it, They have, we have our own rally cry and we're doing our own thing, but sales knows nothing about it. They're not going to know how to sell it. They're not going to know how to present it. They're not going to know how to put it out there. And either way, whichever one does it, you're going to see a failure of the project because it was not communicated within the whole group.
Yep.
And so it really. Go ahead.
And then you'll have finance sitting over there going, we're not putting money into this. Advertising is a waste of money. We don't want to waste money on that. Right. I mean, so that's how finance people think. That's how accountants think. And so all of a sudden now you've got them protecting money. You've got marketing going, okay, you guys didn't even help us with the campaign. So we got a campaign going that has nothing to do with what you want to do. And sales going, why aren't you guys supporting us?
Well, and then customer service going, you've got people calling and we don't know what they were sold or not sold or what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And so you have an absolute breakdown in the standard operating objectives later because we weren't clear on the focal objective or the thematic goal. And we call it a priority project. And so, and I love that term for me. And I really was thinking about it because I don't know what the hell a defining objective is. In my mind, it's not as clear as focal objective. What are we focusing on? And so I changed the language because, well, I'm a psychologist and I can make stuff up. But the idea of priority project, we really had a problem when we were talking about thematic goals. Like people think they're going to go do a play, and it's like, okay, so let's bring it out of jargon and really get clear. We're looking for one project that is priority. Oh, priority project. Yes.
Yep.
It's going to move the company forward in 90 days. Yeah. And then what are the focal objectives that we're going to hit to do that? And then standard operating objectives made perfect sense. We just kept that one.
Yep. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. And that's that thing. And I think for every company that uses this, it's putting it in a language that actually helps your people, right? Yep. It doesn't have to be in a certain set language. It needs to be in what works for you guys. But it's got to be a shared language. And that's the key piece. Everyone's got to understand what's being said, what we're talking about, where we're headed. I think one thing I was thinking about as we're talking about this is for the average person leading a company, small, medium size, or even large company, maybe they don't relate with BP and the oil spill, right? And so maybe thinking through for them, what are some natural thematic goals, priority projects, rally cries that we see on a regular basis. And I think some of them could be like, I've seen companies where they're at a place where they realize they've kind of hit a plateau in terms of their growth. And they really want to, they're like, hey, we what's priority right now is taking that next step of growth. Right. And so they might zero in on that and say, hey, this is the goal. We want to, 25% growth in the next 9 months. Or 10% growth or something, depending on the size of the company and all of that, right? So it might be something like that they're trying to pin on and go, say, this is it, right? The company growth is vital. We're in the midst of massive inflation, and we need to be able to raise people's salaries. So if we don't grow, we can't do that. So maybe that's the goal. So those types of things are the things that we're looking out at and going, okay, in 9 months, we want to be here. How are we going to get there?
Yeah.
And so, or 6 months or 3 months. I mean, it doesn't have to be 9. 9's not the magic number, or 3 or 6. It's in the foreseeable future. What's the thing that we have to accomplish to get to that place? And so that it might be something like that. It might be, sometimes it's a sales oriented goal, but it can't be so narrowly sales only, or you're going to get back into the silo, like Terry's saying.
Yep.
And so it's got to be a picture of, okay, if we want to double sales, or we want to, get 50% more sales, or we want to get 10% more sales, it's got to be the type of thing that marketing's going, well, how are we going to get there? You got to rally them and get them on board with that. You've got to be able to get the finance people behind it who are sitting there going, yeah, we got to do this. We got to figure out a way to manage the money in a way that we're making sure the money's available that you guys need. So we might need to tighten down over here and shift over here, right? We got to get ops on board, because ops is going, okay, what are we getting those orders on? So we're ready and we're lined up to come with the growth. And so all of that, it's got to be something that everyone can get behind, or it's not a rallying cry.
Right. And it's got to be proactive, not reactive. We too often people think, and I've seen it happen, people have something happen in their business and they get reactive and they think they're focusing on what's most important right now, but they're that illustration of what I was talking about with the hair on fire, and they're running around a fire extinguisher. And instead of actually putting fires out, they're knocking everything down. It's like, you're going to blow up. Stop it. And it's because they're reacting rather than actually thinking about, okay, if we actually step back and go, what's going to move us forward? Putting this problem to bed might be great right now, but it might be a symptom of a larger problem. If we step back, we can see the larger problem and fix that one and fix a bunch of others that we didn't realize we were having because we were so busy with our head down. And so for me, I think about when we're having a problem with a business, that's a symptom of a greater problem. And it probably has something to do with communication. It has something to do with not having a rally cry, and not maybe living within our strategic anchors that we talked about last week. And so when we step back, we can go, wait, we're missing some steps. And what's happened is we've gone into reaction and we've gone into whacking moles that are on fire rather than having a coherent, understandable priority project. So we need to step back, and although that's on fire, and maybe we can actually, put a pillow on it or something and put it out a little bit, we don't want to just address that. We want to step back and really go, okay, what's our thematic goal, and how does that get addressed within a bigger picture?
So I like what you're saying there, that sense of if we start just being reactive to the little fires we see here, there, or there, we get sidetracked to something that, one, is usually small compared to where we want to go. And two, now we're just bouncing from thing to thing to thing, and we're totally distracted. And we lose what the benefits we sat here and talked about are. One, when you get that rally cry, that priority project, thematic goal, whatever you want to call it, when you get that in place, it gets everyone focused on something and everyone pushing toward it. So what does that do? It aligns all your people. They're all on the same page, going for the same thing. It creates where collective results matter more than individual results. Where the putting out the fire might be more individual. Well, that's over in marketing. I don't care what's going on with them. They screwed it up. They can fix it, right? But when we're all focused on the big picture, well, that fire now is a part of keeping us from getting to the big picture. And so we're all worried about it, and we're all saying, how do we get that out quick while we're running this direction? That's a part of, let's accomplish what we're accomplishing. And then the other thing is, so now you got people aligned. Not only that, they have a sense of purpose. And they're all on board with purpose. And so guess what? All those employee engagement problems you got, they're falling by the wayside.
Absolutely.
Your boring meetings now have something to bring them together, that we're all focused. How are we doing on accomplishing this, people?
Right.
And so
that's where the scorecard comes in, and we start really looking at, and I have an image in my mind whenever I think about this, and I try to imagine this when I'm talking to the different companies that we're working with around this idea. And it's in the Olympics, they have the rowing teams, and each one of them has an oar, and each one of those oars is a part of the priority project or the thematic goal.
Right.
And so are they all rolling together?
Yep.
Or are they knocking paddles out of rhythm, and they're going all over the place? You can see when people are all in line, working together, every oar using all of its pull in the right direction to get you to your goal of winning the race for that particular thing. But that's what we're thinking. Rally cry, win the race.
Yep.
Everybody row together. At the same time, doing the same thing. And you can only do that with really clear communication about what's most important right now.
That's so good. Thanks, Terry. Well, we're probably could go on for quite a while about this, but we're going to wrap up there. If you got questions, if you got questions about this, we would love to be able to answer them. So feel free to reach out to us. You could either shoot us a message on whatever platform you're seeing this on, and we'd love to jump in there. You could reach out to us. Our information is going to be in the outro video as well. So reach out, follow us, connect with us, come back next week. We'll be jumping in again, and not on this topic, but a new one. And each week we're trying to bring things to you that would really help you to build a great organization. That's our dream, that's our desire, and that's why we're here. I'm Doug Cothe. It's Terry Wager, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.